Forged from Iron is proud to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham United fans and friends inspired by the work of other football fan food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations from Newham Food Bank in Beckton, who supply 7 distribution centres in the borough, 7 days a week, and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. They are supported in their efforts by West Ham United Football Club, the WHU Foundation, LS185, London Legacy Development Corporation, Newham Council, the Met Police, Spire London East Hospital, Expedient Security, and a large number of West Ham and football fans. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thank you for your support. Come on, you Irons. This is Forged from Iron. Welcome to the big debate. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Forged from Iron. As it says there on that banner there, please don't forget to like, comment on, and share the stream to your social media platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. Hit the bell icon for alerts on new content, and we thank you very much indeed for your support in this matter, ladies and gentlemen. We are here for the next instalment of the big debate. I've got an eclectic mix of, well, the great and the good of the West Ham YouTube universe, it has to be said. Or I say West Ham YouTube universe. There's actually an interloper, and long-time viewers of the channel will recognise him instantly. But I'm going to go full screen, and he can introduce himself. So, Doug, who are you? Who are you? Who are you?
Hello, my name is Douglas Horne. I run the Dugout Football channel on YouTube. It is an absolute pleasure to be here this evening. I was invited very, very nicely by Mr. Rob Gates himself. And I'm just a basic football channel, so do come and check me out. But it is a pleasure to be here, and thank you very much for having me.
No problem, my friend. We've also got another member of the YouTube fraternity. Please introduce yourself, sir.
I'm Nick. I'm from Claret and Booze. And I mainly, well, as of the last 3-4 months, you will have seen me, if you've seen the channel, just ranting and raving about David Moyes. So that's me in a nutshell.
I don't think you're alone there, mate. I really don't. Panelist number 3.
Yep, Charlie. You've seen me on there before, probably. Again, probably ranting about David Moyes, but no YouTube channel to promote this one.
Just this one, yeah, that'll do. Have you been ranting about David Moyes of late, Steve?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Hi, good evening, everybody. Sorry about this. Second time on the channel today, so you can't get away from my rubbish. But yeah, thanks very much for the invite, Gatesy. Really looking forward to this evening, and I also love the Zippy character. Every one of my friends I've shown that introduction to have laughed themselves silly and said, yeah, it couldn't be better. So top marks for you, old son.
No problem, mate. No problem. Right. Okay. So I've got some video questions. And if there's anybody that's in the live chat that wants to try and get a question in to the guys on the panel, please do so via the live chat. Before we get stuck into that, though, and also put a Q at the beginning of that. Before we get stuck into the very first video question that I've got lined up, I do want to shine a light onto this particular, and I'll just go full screen with that. In the live chat, you will find in the pin section, I've put a link to this GoFundMe page. Now, those of you that obviously are West Ham fans, because I don't assume that all of you necessarily are, we obviously played a game in Larnaca last week, and there was a little bit of an incident that befell this young man that's in that photograph right there. He's currently in a bit of a bad way over in Cyprus, and there's a GoFundMe page to try and get him a few bob to get him his medical bills paid, get him back to the UK and all the rest of it. So as I say, this link for this GoFundMe page is in the pinned section of the comments. So please consider giving as generously as you can. Thank you very much indeed for your support in this matter. Right. Let's get stuck into it. I've got a video question from someone that you might be familiar, Mr. Nick.
Hello, Gatesy. How you doing? This is John from Claret and Booze. Bit of a funny question, this one, but we've had a few debates on our channel previously about this. Would you take relegation with a cup win? Would you take relegation with a cup win? This has caused a little bit of division, bit of a fun question, really, I suppose. But I know what I would do. What do you think? Come on, you irons.
A fun question, he says, Nick. He's got a really perverse sense of humour, your mate, hasn't he? I'll let you go first with this one. You're on mute, mate.
Oh, sorry. I said his head is really that big as well. He was probably holding that phone about 10 metres from his head as well. It's huge. You want to go to me on that one? Would I take a cup and relegation? Well, look, I mean, I won't take relegation. I'll take a cup, but it won't make me... No, relegation's a disaster, whatever happens next. I mean, I think it would be an absolute travesty if I've had to wait from the year I was born, 1980, to win a trophy that had some meaning in it, and then you have the polish taken off the cup by relegation. I wouldn't turn my nose up at a trophy, but no, for me, it's all about staying in the league. For me, if we get to the final, I'm going to want to win it, of course. But put it this way, I would not be sacrificing the league at the moment. For instance, we've heard with Brighton when we played Brighton, the awful game that we all saw, and David Moyes cited the fatigue that the players were feeling from, and that was a Saturday game, from Wednesday, from the travel to Manchester. Similar excuses again after the Aston Villa game, even though he was much happier with that one. But no, I think the Thursday Sunday thing, with the way that David Moyes utilises his squad, particularly. We're playing AEK Larnaca at the minute. The games you'd like to think are going to get a little bit more difficult, because I don't think AEK Larnaca's been an amazing advert for that competition. Let's face it, they were crap. So yes, we're going to face better teams, but no, I'm a bit of a grumpy git at the moment. If we were in a more privileged position and I weren't worried about relegation, I'd be really wanting to go for this. But honestly, at the moment, the Europa Conference League is far at the back of my mind. But in answer to John's question, I suppose in a nutshell, I would take a cup win, but getting relegated, I'd still be Moyes out 100%. It'd be the biggest failure ever for a manager to have spent 300 million in 3 years, more than Mikel Arteta in the same period, and then to ultimately relegate us, to return us back to a lower position from where he found us, And everyone clings on to the two European nights, Sevilla and Lyon. Well, yeah. They've cost us 150 million apiece, haven't they? So, Andy Carroll looks like good value compared to that, if you ask me. But we shall see. Football's all about memories. You wouldn't replace those nights for anything else. But no, on the whole, I think David Moyes has been he gave us a small period, a brief period of he had a purple patch, during the pandemic. Then Jesse Lingard came in and turned into Lionel Messi, and then either side of that, it's been what it is. So, no, I'm struggling, Gatesy. I'm sure you can see I'm struggling. I can't be positive about that at the moment. No. I will. I mean, if we can pull ourselves clear of relegation, so we're not panicking, then I'll be like, yes, go for the cup. I want a cup. But at the moment, I can't think about that.
Yeah, we're too close to the danger zone. Well, I mean, we're what, a goal or two above it? I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, a little bit too close for comfort, mate. And I'm probably the same as you. I think relegation would be absolutely catastrophic for the club in
100%.
all ways.
100%. I mean, did you see Nigel's daily ramble today?
I haven't had a chance to yet. No, I've had an absolute mare of a day.
Nigel Khan, right? Ever the you know the footballing equivalent pacifist. He's the optimist, but he's not. Read between the lines of his video that he done on the daily ramble today. Basically, Nigel was completely. He's the most anti London Stadium person you will ever get. He was a one-man protest when we were moving. That was Nigel Khan, and he did a video today. But if you read between the lines, you know something. Nigel Khan's a bit bitter. He's a bit bitter and twisted. I think there's a part of him that almost would like relegation because he hates Sullivan that much. He wants to see the pain on Sullivan's face. Honestly, and that's the only thing. That's the only thing that would take the shine off of it, because I detest Sullivan for what he's put us through, you know, and for what he continues to put us through now. So yeah,
fair dues. Charlie, how about yourself, mate? Relegation and a cup win?
I had a feeling you might come to me next. On this one.
You mentioned this, didn't you, a couple of days ago?
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to be in the minority on this one, but simple for me, absolutely. Look, there's been 30 years of my life almost that I ain't seen us win a fucking thing. There could quite conceivably be another. It's ambitious to think I've got another 60 left, but there could conceivably be another 60 where we don't win a thing. So, yeah, it's a hypothetical scenario. It's not either or, so it's not a case of saying take the cup and go down. I don't see any reason why we can't stay up and win the trophy. But if it was a hypothetical scenario that we're talking about, or if it was this scenario and the Europa Conference League back in Europe next year, that would be interesting in the Championship. But see, it's weekend out. Well, it's no weekend in the Conference League, is it? It's midweek, but whatever. A week in Prague, 10,000 West Ham fans out in Prague in a European Cup, not the European Cup, a European Cup final, winning it, probably against a pretty good team at that point, probably a Lazio or a Fiorentina or something like that. I'll remember that when I'm dying in 50 years' time or whatever. I ain't going to remember a season in the Championship. We've had plenty of those, and we'll probably have plenty of those again. That's not a defeatist attitude, but just realism of what West Ham are and where we will be probably for the rest of our lives. Cup win all day long for me, and it's not a case of. I think it would be. I guess I had a conversation with Steve about this earlier in the week actually, and I said probably helps my scenario that I don't think it'll be a doomsday scenario if we go down. I think there's a lot of reasons why it could be, but there's also a lot of reasons why it wouldn't be a doomsday scenario, i.e. we've barely got any operating costs whatsoever when it comes to the stadium compared to other teams that go down. So I think it would be a straight down and up. You can never guarantee that, but I'd be pretty confident. And European Cup final in Prague, take that all day long, whatever the alternative.
Can I interject, Charlie?
Absolutely.
Just very quickly, I'm going to ask you, and that's fine. I respect your opinion, but let me ask you this: would you take a Europa League Cup? Say, for instance, it's whatever. So I know that isn't how it actually happens, but say you've got the choice of staying in the league or sacrificing that for the cup. Would you choose the cup and relegation?
Yes.
You would choose the cup and relegation. You would sacrifice a vital game in the league to keep us in the league to beat. I'm not being funny, mate. There's no glory in this. There's not.
Oh, there is. There was glory when Jose Mourinho has won everything in football. He found glory in the Europa Conference League last year with Roma.
But he didn't get relegated the same season. They wouldn't have been celebrating like that if they'd have been relegated down to Serie B, whatever it's called.
I can hear someone chuckling away in the background. I've seen many a season in the Championship, and I'd say that we will see many a seasons in the second division again over the next 10, 15, 20 years. I don't see any reason why that will change. Maybe it will, but
That's fair enough.
I will remember a European Cup win, a cup win, a domestic cup win, whatever it will be, for the rest of my life.
Your name in here, Charlie. AIM's supporting you.
There we go.
There's
I'm
one.
not totally on my own.
Well, there's one of us, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Steve, but there's someone here that is actually old enough to remember us winning a European trophy. Am I correct?
No, not a European trophy. I've seen us lift the cup twice, and I've seen us in the Cup Winners' Cup final.
Oh, I thought you went back to 65. Forgive me.
No, I was born April 65. So, technically, until recently, until we beat Liverpool away, I've been alive when we won the World Cup, but we'd never beaten Liverpool in my lifetime until we beat them a few seasons ago.
What's your
Yeah, so
Europa Conference League win acceptable to you?
no, not chance. I mean, hang on, we spent 300 million. How that is just colossal mismanagement to find ourselves in the position we are. Any other business where the person who spends the money had spent 300 million and it had completely gone pear-shaped as badly as it has for us, the person responsible for buying and selling those players and getting a tune out of what they're meant to do would be sacked. It is absolutely mind-numbing for me that we could spend that much money and be where we are. I've said this to people, I'm probably only going to hold on to my season ticket for the next couple of years, because in 2 years' time, my missus retires and we're planning to spend the winter somewhere warmer. So I'm going to be out of the country for most of the football season. So there's not much point holding on to my ticket. I do not want to see us playing, no disrespect to teams like Rotherham. I don't even know if they're in the Championship, but I don't want to see us play teams like that. I want to see us play Man U, Man City.
Not in that stadium, Steve. You don't want to see that. That's the difference. When you're in Upton Park, it's a bit different. Could you imagine hosting Rotherham in a 2/3 empty London stadium?
I'd be a disaster.
I'm not even sure it'd be 2/3 full, Nick.
It'd still be as quiet as it is this season. Won't be any quieter than this season.
Yeah. To be honest with you, Nick, I would actually consider whether I renew, because is it worth the effort? I mean, because I've got arthritis, getting up there, getting back, various other bits, is damn hard work, and I'm absolutely knackered the next day. Now, I love going to watch it. I love going to games, but in a 2/3 stadium in the Championship, I don't think I could get the motivation, and I think the season ticket might just be a waste of money.
And it probably would depend as well, Steve, what type of manager. Because if you look at the Championship now, the teams historically, for instance, when we went down last time, we employed Sam Allardyce and we shit our way back into the Premier League again.
Yeah,
it's different now. These teams are not doing that. They're getting progressive managers. They're playing football in the Championship. But would Sullivan do that? I think he's so stuck in his ways. I think would be treated to pretty much the same. And Sullivan isn't going to sell. If we go down, we'd be stuck with Sullivan again, because he ain't going to sell the place at a loss. He'll wait until we go back again. And yeah, I don't think there's any guarantees that we would bounce straight back.
No.
I think you get it's a tough division, and I think I think we'd struggle. I think that stadium would be like a ball and chain to us down there.
Yep,
I get your point. I think obviously there's no guarantees about coming straight back up, but I think when you look at the Championship table over the last 5 to 10 years, especially the last 5 years, I think it's got even bigger. Generally, the wage bill is exactly the same as the final finish of the table. You see this year, Burnley go down straight back up. Norwich.
That's down to Vincent Kompany though. They went and got a very good manager in.
It is, but they also spent more money than everyone else pretty much, and they spend more money every week on wages than everyone else.
Look how much we spent this year. Ain't served us very well, was it? It's no good if you don't spend it well.
Can I just come back in here, guys? I have to say this. I absolutely will not renew my season ticket if we go down and David Moyes is still the manager. I can't. I was a huge advocate for Moyes in for a long time, but the way he's behaved recently towards the players, having a pop at the fans, from what I understand, what he did when we were away to Brighton, and he actually, I think Gonzo said he almost fronted up to the fans who were getting upset. And what is it? Is it Lady Man who's now come out and blamed the fans for the Villa game or something? He's had a go at the fans.
Is that Ian Ladyman, the journalist?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am absolutely sick and tired with Moyes' antics and excuses. It's good while he's winning; he could get away with it, but this is where the rubber hits the road. If he behaved towards his staff, i.e. the players, in the way he does in any other form of business, he'd be sacked. Look how he's treating Gianluca Scamacca. Look how he treated Vlasic, Krul. It's not acceptable. So if we go down and Moyes is in charge next year, forget it. I'm not going. I'll go and do something else.
Just picking up on that comment from Paul, I don't think it is a financial disaster if we go down, assuming we come straight back up, which obviously isn't a guarantee. If you look at the outlay, we don't get any money virtually based on our income. A very, very small percentage is match day income. Tickets.
No, it's all TV revenue over both over here and overseas, which is gone if you're not in the Premier League.
It's not totally gone as it was 20 years ago. There's still a big TV deal, and we would have the biggest TV deal in the Championship, probably Championship history, if we went down. So it wouldn't be totally gone. But yeah, match day income, like Paul was saying about tickets, and we don't get any of the confectionery. We don't get any stadium sales. I think we'd financially overpower everyone in that Championship, which would give us a very high chance of getting up straight away, I think. And go back to the original point. We've had Championship seasons before. We'll have Championship seasons again. I've seen one cup final when Stephen Gerrard ruined that prick. I could quite conceivably never see us in a cup final again. So winning a trophy, absolutely hands down for me.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I get it.
But the thing is,
sorry.
Go on,
carry on.
The thing is, with the size of club we are, if we run properly, we should never have another Championship season again. If you can afford to spend 300 million, that is not the budget that gets you relegated.
That was a selling point of moving us from Upton Park to this stadium, was that we weren't going to have to worry about this again.
Absolutely.
No one believed it then, and no one believes it now, Nick.
I think they did believe it, or they'd have been protesting. If people thought that this was how it was going to turn out, would have been protesting en masse. We all bought it. We all bought the lies, all of us.
Yeah, and the thing is, we should not be, with the budget we've got, with the players we can buy, this is crazy. It just comes down to gross mismanagement of the club. And should David Sullivan or David Moyes happen to listen to this, which I highly doubt, both of you go and have a good long look in the mirror, because it really is a level of incompetence that is beyond belief that has got West Ham in this position.
Steve, you mistake either of those for caring at all, especially Sullivan. Moyes cares about himself and his own reputation, which is questionable. Sullivan could not give a shit about West Ham, apart from his pocket, which is going to be, whether it's this season, whether it's 3 seasons' time, he'll get his big payday. He knows he's going to get it. He ain't worried about that. He doesn't care about West Ham.
Yeah, makes you wonder, he's in his 70s.
Steve, if I may interject, Doug's been sitting there very patiently, the cuckoo in the nest. How do you view things from the outside looking in? What do you think? If West Ham got relegated in the same season that they lifted their first piece of silverware since 1980, their first European trophy since 1965, how do you think that West Ham fans should view that? Do you think we should view that as a positive, a negative, or totally neutral?
Well, I sort of cast my mind back to obviously when Wigan won the FA Cup. Like, their fans enjoyed their day at Wembley. But I think the main thing about that season was their fans were saying, now we want to survive in the Premier League. I think if you said, would you take relegation if we'd won a trophy? I don't think you would do it, because I think going down to the Championship would actually be much harder to get out of now. Because I've seen the Championship this season. It is very, very competitive. Like I think there's like 5 or 6 points separating. I think it's like 6th to about 12th. Like it is that tight. It is that tight. So, if you lose a couple of games and you're sort of falling down the league. But I'll be amazed. I'm surprised David Moyes has not been sacked yet. I've been totally shocked that he's not been sacked yet. I think someone said it the chat, 15 wins out of 54. That is awful.
9 wins in 12 months, I think, is the other stat.
Yeah, that's refreshing.
Awful.
But that's refreshing to hear a supporter of another team sort of talk like that about West Ham, because if you listen to the narrative of the media, they all back David Moyes, and the reason they back David Moyes is because they still look at us like little old West Ham. You refer to Wigan. We're not Wigan. We shouldn't be grateful to win a cup and get relegated. We're bigger than that.
Yeah.
We're not one of the powerhouses. But there is no way on earth we should be happy if we get
still
relegated. There should
I'd
be
still
a
sack
fucking
him, by the way.
disaster.
Just put that there. I'd still sack him if we won it. If we go down, he loses his job, and I think he would. But it was a hypothetical situation. I'd still sack him though.
With his current behaviour, I'd sack him tomorrow.
Yeah, West Ham Online. I wish I hadn't tweeted it now. He's just come in the chat to try and troll me. Yes.
Yeah. No.
But Doug, sorry. Carry on. You say you're absolutely astonished that David Moyes is still in a job. Why do you think he is? As a Liverpool fan, looking at this absolute shambles that our season has become, what do you make of it? Why is he still in a job, in your opinion?
I don't know. That's the thing I'd have to say as well. Like after the Brighton result, I thought, right, I'll see you like on the next morning that David Moyes has lost his job as West Ham manager. But no. I just think the board are not ready to I think they're too stubborn. I think that they're way too stubborn to way too stubborn to let him go. I think it's because of obviously is past sort of seasons that last season was very, very good. You obviously got into the Europa semi-finals, but this season has just been really, really poor. Like, I didn't think West Ham would be anywhere near where they are now. I think the only good thing I can say about it is that there's still a few games left in the season, and it's still very, very tight down there. But a club the size of West Ham should not be anywhere near the relegation zone, especially with the money that David Moyes has spent. So for me, if I was obviously a West Ham chairman and I'd seen David Moyes has spent £300 million in the last 3 years and West Ham are near the relegation zone, he'd be gone straight away.
Fair. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, I'm with you, Doug. I don't know how he's got a job. I think he can count himself very fortunate to have still had a job after we got beat by Leicester before the World Cup. I think he could count himself more fortunate that he was the manager through the course of the transfer window. And Christ, I mean, all his Christmases must have come at once for him to still be in employment after the debacle down at the Amex. That was just an absolute shambles. And yeah, I got no idea what this guy's got to do to get the sack.
People try to draw, that was getting outrageous. I was trying to draw comparisons. First of all, it was, Brendan Rodgers. And it was at the time where Leicester were at the bottom of the league. But then they went on a run, which pulled them out of the bottom. And they went on a little run, it pulled them out. And that's the thing. If he hadn't have put a run together, they probably would have sacked him if they'd spent an extended period in the bottom three. But, Liverpool, people make the comparisons to Klopp. There is a difference, okay? At least with Klopp, when there isn't success, the guy, it isn't just success that he's delivered; it's a brand of football, that you can enjoy, that you can identify with. With David Moyes and that style of manager, if you ain't winning, there's nothing. There's nothing.
No.
Do you know what I mean? So it's completely different.
I have always thought that David Moyes' sort of style of play has got a little bit stale. I have obviously been like watching a few like West Ham games, and obviously when you're on the TV, you know, you've had one or two good games this season, but then you've had like one or two really hot shockers, and I think that
Can't remember those.
that Brighton game was just terrible.
Mate, it was the we literally went to Brighton to watch Brighton play football. We didn't do anything, and the thing that done me in that game was, because I'm telling you now, David Moyes is. You were looking at all the other teams down there that are going out and getting scalps. Obviously, Bournemouth took 3 points against Liverpool. They're going out against everyone that they're playing to try and win. David Moyes has got a relegation planner. He's gone, right, we'll win that one, we win that one. No chance in that one. That's Chelsea. Can't go at them. Brighton, we never beat them. Scratch that one off. We was 1-0 down at half-time. He didn't make an offensive change. He made it was more of a defensive change, changing Benrahma for 4-0. And then goal 2 went in. Nothing. He did nothing. Goal, and these ain't quick fire goals. They're 10 minutes apart. Goal 3 went in. Nothing. He's got coaching staff coming up to him with the iPad saying, basically, I'm assuming saying, make a fucking change, do something. And he waves them away. Nolan throws the iPad down. You've got Declan Rice wandering over to him. And then he speaks to him. And then he turns around, throws his water bottle down as if to say, fucking help us. Just and apparently, I don't know if this is true. The message that was delivered to Declan Rice from David Moyes was David Moyes to Declan Rice was just keep the score low. That was it.
Damage limitation.
Just keep the score low.
Fuck's sake.
Okay.
I think we all know why David Moyes is still in a job now, because it's got to the point where Sullivan is so far down the tracks and he is totally out of ideas, and the only idea he's got is Rafa Benitez. And Rafa Benitez knows that he's Sullivan's only option, and he wants a 3.5-year deal.
Yeah,
Sullivan's not going to give him that, so we're stuck with Moyes at the end of the season. I think if the options were there, or if Sullivan, no, let me rephrase that. If Sullivan had the nous to create some options for himself, I think Moyes would be gone. But we're so far down the tracks now, there's no option.
I've been asked a direct question here. If I might just address this directly from West Ham Online. What do I make of the people that continue to defend Moyes? They must be related to him.
I'm not sure there's many left, are there?
I don't think there's many. I really don't think there's many left.
no.
It's almost borderline trolling now, I find, because I mean it is now. It's indefensible now, and it's getting worse with every week. It isn't. I don't even think it's worth. I don't even think the Moyes in, Moyes out thing should be a debate anymore.
No,
I don't think it is. I think the only other side to Moyes out is the people that are kind of like resigned to it now, and I'm kind of in that. I'm kind of in that boat myself. That I'm bored of saying Moyes in, Moyes out. Well, I'm bored of saying Moyes out because I know it's not going to happen now. We know he's here for the rest of the season. We can say it till we're blue in the face. I'm kind of like done with it, to be honest. I think that's the only other side to it.
You say he's here to the end of the season, and in normal circumstances, yes. But as Sean Whetstone has said, once pressure is on the board and they see that people are really upset, once Sullivan starts to get it in the ear, then you'll see a change.
It's too late now, though, isn't it? We've got 12 games. We've got 12 games left. If they're going to make a change, this is their last chance. We've got an international break coming up. If they're going to make a change, we've got a 2-week break. This is it. You make it now.
Oh yeah,
You don't because not Nigel on Nigel's video earlier on. He referenced sort of the Great Escape and seasons like that. I'm sorry we were seeing nothing like what we're seeing now. I know obviously we'd been on a bad run of defeats and everything else, but this is like we're falling to pieces. We've heard news today. Today, yesterday, and then going back to Jacob Steinberg's report in the Guardian, where it's clear and it's coming out. It's like a cascade effect. Coaching staff are not happy with David Moyes. Players are not happy with him. They're all unhappy with him. The board know. Apparently, there has been a constant flow of people complaining to Noble on the board. And the board know that the players don't like Moyes and don't like his tactics and don't like his defensive style. Yet they're still saying we want to stick with him. It makes no sense. You saw the body language. Lucas Paqueta, the way he stormed up and went down the tunnel the other day.
The situation's got so desperate The situation's got so desperate. I spent the last 3 weeks up begging for Alan fucking Pardew to come back. And
Mate,
save us.
I'd take Sam Allardyce back for the last few weeks, and I'm not even joking.
Yeah, so would I. I tell you
God,
what,
cool.
this is how bad I think it's got. When we did, Gatesy and I sit quite near to each other at the London Stadium, and after the home game against Brighton, you came down and you were speechless, and I came down and I'm normally fairly laid back, and I was raging. I thought it was such a bad performance, and I did the review on the channel, and I said that's in the top 5 worst West Ham games I've ever seen. That was the home game. I tell you what, that looked like a masterclass compared to the away performance. I think the away performance could be the worst I've ever seen in 50 years from West Ham. And I've seen some rubbish, I can tell you.
I was going to say, you must have seen a few really bad performances, with all due respect.
Oh, I've seen some horror shows. But the Brighton away game, I can't even put into words how bad that was. Even when I've seen horror shows from West Ham, and believe you me, there have been a few back in the 70s and 80s, but that was just, I can't explain why it was so bad. Just every single aspect of that game was awful. I think what makes the 70s and 80s better, certainly 70s, was we had John Lyle as manager. You know, and at least John Lyle, you knew he was trying to do something.
Well, it's a style of football as well. We had identity, didn't we?
Oh, didn't we just? I mean,
fuck off, John. Sorry.
And I watched Nigel's video this morning on your channel. Actually, I was having my bath at the time, so I stuck YouTube on, and I couldn't get past the fact that he said he'd be quite happy if we got relegated, it would be the board's punishment. And I thought, wow, no, actually, it's the fans' punishment. It's the fans that suffer. Sullivan won't give a monkeys.
Do you know what it is, though, Steve? It's this rhetoric that we keep on getting banded about, not just by Sullivan, but by our fans. They're referring to the Moyes of 18 months ago when they say, oh, but we can't get anyone better. I wouldn't take him. Do you know something? Just removing him and going with the coaching staff that are there, because we've arrived at a stage now where West Ham need we need an exorcism. There is like
Red Adair.
No, we do. It's like there is like this fucking dark cloud over the stadium. Everyone's miserable. It's silent in the fucking stands. The players all look disenchanted. You know, it's miserable. It's bad. We just need someone. You know, we need fucking multiple priests to come in and just bless us. Remove Moyes.
Get the Ouija board out.
Remove Moyes from that stadium. Fucking beams of light will come shooting through. The weight of the world will be lifted off of all those players' shoulders. Just that alone will give us a lift. This bloke is fucking... He's killing us. So, yes, anyone would be better than David Moyes at this moment in time.
At this moment in time, I'd take Winnie the Pooh over David Moyes.
Well, I'll tell you what, since you say that, gentlemen, right, there's a question that's come in from Budgie. And well,
No.
I'll fire it to Charlie first. Charlie, if the choice was either Gerrard or Lampard to replace Moyes, yes, what would you prefer? Reasons.
Gerrard, because he's not a fat cunt. With my spine, right? Yeah, I'd go Gerrard because he's had at least a little bit of success with Rangers, and maybe he learnt something off the real brains behind him, Michael Beale, and maybe we can get Michael Beale after him. To be honest, I'll take either of them for 12 games. I don't want either of them anywhere near our club next season, to be totally honest. But as Nick quite rightly said, and Steve said, Winnie the Pooh, I'm not sure if he's available, but anyone but Moyes for the last 12 games. So yes, that includes Gerrard or Lampard. Do I want either of them as our long-term manager next season? No, thank you. Not a chance.
So purely as a stopgap, you'd be Steven Gerrard over David Moyes over.
But I would rather Nolan, Kevin Keane. Fuck me.
Yeah, you've convinced me now as well. Do you know, I would take Lampard as well. I would take Lampard. I would. I'll take anyone at this point for the last 12
Lampard,
games. Just anyone.
Wow.
Anyone. I just want him out and gone. You know, apart from anything else, right? we can't keep doing this. You know, it's hard enough watching it, but doing what we do, Gacy, Could you imagine doing this again next season?
Oh God, don't, Nick.
Fucking
Please.
hell! Just give
No,
us a break.
No.
Give us a break. Just it's so obvious what needs to happen. You know,
Doing
and
this
it's
again next season whilst losing 3-0 to Rotherham away.
Oh,
Yes.
don't, Charlie, for fuck's sake.
Do you know what really makes me cringe as well? And this is the one thing why, because West Ham Online, right? It's the Mr. Moyes thing. Honestly, it makes me want to chew my fucking fingers off. It refers to him as, why does he call him Mr. Moyes?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't get it. But
Maybe it's just a respect thing. I don't know.
Oh, mate, it's not.
I reckon
He's
he prefers that to
winding me.
Moisey.
He's
You
winding me
see,
up.
my problem is now I've retired. I've got time to get really annoyed about this, and I am absolutely spitting feathers. I mean, if you want to see the definition of grumpy old man, well, I'm it. Actually, I'm absolutely killing it on this subject. I would definitely take Gerrard, Lampard. Yeah, I guess I would actually over Moyes, because it is just so bad. I don't actually think it matters too much about the quality of manager you bring in. I think removing Moyes will give the lift that the players need to go out and play. I don't think it really matters greatly who is there instead of Moyes. It's the fact that Moyes isn't there that will make the difference. That's my opinion on it.
It does. Also, going back to what Nigel said earlier on, where he said we need a happy YouTuber to spread happiness. Seriously, he's a Trojan horse, this bloke. If you watch his video earlier on, I get it now. I get why he's so relaxed. Because he hates David. He wants relegation, not because he wants relegation, but his hate of David Sullivan. He does. He hates him, right? He wants to hurt him. He wants to hurt him bad. So, yes, he is apathetic about going down or not, because deep down he's thinking, ooh. He wants to see that look on David Sullivan's face. So, Nigel, I know what you're all about, mate. I know what you're all about. He does, and I do get it. I kind of like it as well. But because I've actually got to the point as well. Listen, guys. Just imagine if we do get relegated. But just say if we do. Who do you want standing on that sideline on the last game of the season? Because if we get relegated, I'm telling you what, I want it to be Moyes. Because what I don't want is for us to bring someone else in, for them to get us relegated, and then to have people like West Ham Online come out and say we should have stuck with him. All these other people. If we'd have stuck with him, Sullivan blaming the fans because we was pressuring him to get rid of him. The rhetoric from the media. If we're going to get relegated, stick with him. Let him take us down. Let Sullivan own this fuck up, and let David Moyes' career burn and never get another job. Because what that ultimately means is his legacy won't be 6th place and 7th place and bottling it completely over 2 legs in the Europa League semi-final. No, it won't. It will be killing 2 Premier League clubs in the space of 6 years. One with Sunderland, who backed him more than any manager before him, who had been in the Premier League for 10 years, and then us. 2 Premier League teams in the space of 6 years. And we've backed him with 300 million in 3 years of that. So no, the geezer's a fucking fraud. And if we're going to get relegated, then yes, the bloody-minded side of me wants it to be him standing on that sideline when we do go, if we get relegated.
I think the thing is, Nick, I don't think Moyes, with how he's done this season, ever gets a job as big as West Ham again. I can't see it.
No,
because the part of the problem is the way he's behaved and the way he's acted. Most chairmen now are good businessmen and understand PR. They're not going to have that in front of them, and they're not going to have his track record on the pitch. They'll look at it and say he spent 300 million, and that's what he did with West Ham. We're not giving him any money. I do actually think this is the end of Moyes' career as such at this level.
I do think that David Moyes gets a little bit of a free pass. I don't think that the relegation at Sunderland is really referenced at all. It's like, oh, look at what he did at Everton. That's constantly trotted out. But that's just me, possibly as a bitter West Ham fan. What about you, Doug? If we had the choice between keeping Moyes and the only other alternatives were to be Gerrard or Lampard, which one of the three do you think we're better off with, and why?
Wow.
It's not much of a choice, is it?
Personally,
Scraping the barrel.
Personally, Steven Gerrard's never been in a situation where he's been in a relegation battle, so I don't think Gerrard would be the right appointment. Lampard would be good for like the last sort of 10, 11 games, but after that, I would be very, very doubtful. But again, Moyes, I just don't see why he's still manager. I just don't. And this is the thing. Like Frank Lampard got sacked by Everton because Everton have pissed money up the wall. Like they pissed about, I think it's like £550 million in the space of, I think it's 3 or 4 years. And obviously since Lampard came in, Lampard had the worst win percentage rate of any Everton manager. I think it was something like 11 wins in the last. I think it's more than Moyes. I think it's 62 games or something. Like that was relegation for him. So Lampard had to go. I just don't think at this moment in time making a change would be good, because I think if you look at it, April and May is always that sort of always that period when you look at it and it's like, right, this is the sort of the run in towards now and until the end of the season. But no, neither of those I would appoint. Definitely not.
Right.
Okay.
Fair enough. Right. Okay. We've got about another 15 minutes left of this stream, there or thereabouts, before we knock it on the head. Interesting question here from your mate Nick. I'm sorry, he's asked another question.
No, it's a good question.
I think it's a bloody good question. I'm going to fire it to Steve first, if I may. Steve, John's asking, do you think that the stick that Rice has been getting is fair, and should the club stop him doing media duties, or are they happy that he has now become the new deflection from their circus? Interesting.
Ooh. Well, I think Rice has been, in some ways, he's been hung out to dry, because he wasn't ready to fill Noble's boots. Noble had spent years and years preparing to be captain, and now you put Deck, who's a young man, in that position. And no offense to Deck, if the season had gone well, nobody would be questioning it, but it hasn't. And I do think Deck now takes a lot of stick, and the board are probably thinking, "Oh, please, it's not us." Do I think Deck should still be captain? It's a really hard one, that. I don't think his performances have been up to snuff just recently. I mean, against Brighton, for example, he gave away the ball twice. Once at, in our penalty area, and for a moment it looked like he conceded a penalty. I think Deck's under immense pressure, and I think it's affecting him now. I think the board are very happy that they're not getting moaned at, but I think the stick Deck's getting is due to the pressure he's under, and he's not performing at the level he could. He's not happy. You can see it, and I can't say that I blame him. And if it's true that he's rowing with Moyes and all those things, because whatever you might say about Deck, he really cares about West Ham, and he's happy to stay at West Ham. So I understand, as long as we're competitive. Well, we're not. But this is the other thing. We've taken what was last year probably £100 million asset. We'd be lucky to get 60 for him the way he's playing at the moment. And I think that I feel desperately sorry for Deck. In fact, I feel desperately sorry for all the players having to put up with the nonsense that's going on at the moment. So that's my opinion on that question, Gates. So I'll pass it over to somebody else.
Thanks, Steve. Doug, again, outsider's view would be very interesting to hear. So what do you think about the criticism that Declan Rice has been taking as a Liverpool fan looking from the outside? Do you think it's justified? Do you think it's on the money, or what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm not going to be Roy Keane, because I know he's got a bit of a saying towards Declan Rice, but I really rate Declan Rice. I think he's a fabulous player. I think he does the dirty work very, very well. And I do think the speculation about him obviously moving on in the summer, I think, has maybe affected him this season. But I don't think he's been the worst player.
No.
So I think him getting criticism is interesting. Is very, very interesting. And look, I think as well, as a captain, you are sort of, example, Jordan Henderson, captain of Liverpool, he does a lot of media duties for Liverpool. I think Rice should be sort of laid off from the criticism because I think he has actually been a very good servant for West Ham. However, I do think that the speculation over him leaving has definitely affected them this season.
The second part of the question that he says, do you think he's a convenient deflection from the sort of like the hierarchy at the club? Do you think that holds any water?
I think so. I think there's always that sort of that scapegoat you look at to sort of turn away from obviously the owners, and I think Rice has sort of got in the middle of that, which I think is very, very unfair because I honestly do think that we've all us Liverpool fans have obviously seen from your the outsiders things, and we all know that you want your board out. I think it's safe to say you've been wanting them gone for ages. Obviously, David Gold died earlier this year as well. But I do think that Declan Rice has sort of taken a bit of a deflection onto from taking away from obviously the owners, which I don't think is fair.
Fair enough. Nick, your mate's question there, I'll just get it back up on you in its entirety for you to absorb. What do you make of what John's asking?
I don't think it's not fair, no. But there's nothing about this whole situation that is fair. Unfortunately, he is our talisman. He's carried us on his shoulders. Let's face it. Without Declan Rice, we wouldn't have got a 6th or 7th place finish. It just wouldn't have happened. And he has been carrying this team for an awful long time. I think he struggled this year. I think he struggled being the leader. I think we all kind of, we know Mark Noble wasn't got David on the brain. We know that Mark Noble wasn't a great player towards the end, but he was a very important cog in the machine. He's a leader. You need that leader. Like Liverpool have got Henderson. They're important characters in and around that club. And I don't think that Declan Rice potentially. I think he's just struggled with it. And in relation to the media duties, I think they know he likes talking, and I think I can just imagine him shoving him in front of a camera. Yes, it is a useful deflection. With what he said, which a lot of us took exception to, including me, after the Brighton game, where he the experts comment.
Yeah.
If you listen to the full interview, look, first of all, it's his demeanour, right? The guy, when you watch the full interview, you could see he was every bit as broken as we felt at that full time. He was fucked. He was angry. He was rattled. So yeah, I will give him a pass. I will get angry with him at time to time because he says stupid things, but nothing will take away what he's done for us and what I feel for him as a player, because I think he's a great player. And I don't. Can anyone blame him for not wanting to be here? Honestly,
no.
Seriously, can anyone blame him for not wanting to be here? I mean, no. And not wanting to play for that fucking manager. We've got Skamaka's mind's made up already. He's seen enough.
Yeah.
He's seen enough. He's gone, fuck this, get me out of here.
What the fuck have I got myself into?
Yeah, he'll be gone in the summer.
But it took, on the Skamaka thing, it took David Moyes 18 months to identify the ideal striker to replace Haller. He does it, and then he can't make it work.
Yeah.
That's barking mad by any standards. I have a question on the whole deck thing, though, which I'd like your answers on. What's Noble doing? Because Noble seems to be very quiet in the whole thing at the moment.
I don't think Noble knows what he's doing.
I was going to say exactly the same thing, Nick.
He should have some clout.
Well,
He doesn't have any clout.
he
He's
hasn't.
academy director.
He almost
about it.
walked out once, didn't he? Because he obviously came in. You know, his job description was probably written on the back of a fag packet. Looked like a good title. He's come in, realised he's got no power. I mean, I don't really know what his job is, but it's
Glorified ambassador.
Yeah, that's what he is. You're right, 100%. I just want to say one thing. Right, this is going back to David Moyes again, surprisingly enough. When I was having a debate on Twitter with West Ham Online, and this is people that keep on referencing, you know, the 2 years, and they still do. You still get it now. And this guy, Josh Morgie, at Prince Oliver on Twitter, brilliant response. He basically said, "My girlfriend of 2 years made my life miserable, eroded some of my most important and happy things in my life, and took me for every penny I was worth, leaving me in utter disarray. But we had a couple of good nights together, so I'm forever indebted to her." That is a disturbingly accurate analogy.
Yeah,
It
I was
is,
going to say, it sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Moyes had 18 good months. That was it.
Mm.
But he'll come out and turn it into, we've had 3 really good years. We've avoided relegation. No.
Well, that's all he keeps saying now, isn't it?
Yeah, I have watched crap football for the last 12 months and us underperforming. You get to the point where you think, all the time, you think, oh, it will get better. Last year, it's Europe. We're going deep in that. It hasn't got better. It's got worse. And you just get fed up with it because the solution is so obvious, but they won't do anything about it. And the real reason why, if you ask me, is Sullivan's comment was very telling. There are no good replacements and it's costly. It comes down to money.
Yeah,
the money.
Of course it does.
He mentions the finances a couple of times in that statement, doesn't he?
Yeah.
We didn't want to pay 50 grand to travel to Everton, let alone 5-10 million to fucking get rid of David Moyes.
300 million on players, but you won't spend what is basically a not very good squad player to get rid of somebody who's got a fair chance of getting us relegated. And this is where, so I was saying this on the Hammers chat edit WhatsApp, and somebody said, now, Steve, stop it. You're trying to apply logic to the situation. There isn't any. So and I apologised and said, sorry, I'll try and do better in future. Because we all look at it from a reasonable, logical point of view. But it's not working from a logical point of view.
It's not working, Steve. Can I interject before the stream ends? I want to throw something at you. It's a conspiracy theory that's been doing the rounds. And let's face it, that's all we're left with because nothing about this situation makes any sense. It can't possibly be 5 million because that's apparently Sean Whetstone has done the maths, and he's worked out that to get rid of David Moyes and his backroom staff would cost 5 million based on their salaries. However, Sean Whetstone hasn't seen the contracts. Now we know that David Moyes was dragging his heels. We know that the club anticipated, if you listen to them, that we was going to have a tricky season, bedding players in. Who's to say that David Moyes didn't have a safety clause written into his contracts to say that they've got to back him up to a certain point, or there's going to be a big penalty? Who's to say it is just 5 million? Maybe it is going to be costly to get rid of David Moyes. Maybe he has protected himself because he doesn't look like he gives a fuck. You know, he looks like he hasn't got the weight of the world on his shoulders. Really, to be honest, if you watch him on the sideline sometimes when things ain't going quite well, but if you listen to him, if you listen to him in pre-match press conferences, it doesn't seem like there's any urgency. If you watch the way he plays football, he doesn't set up a team like his life depends on it. You know, and he riles us up. He riles the fans. He pushes buttons. You wouldn't do that in his position. So do you think that... Because there's got to be something more to it. It can't just be 5 million. I reckon if you take on board...
I reckon he's got photographs of David Sullivan in a compromising position or something. Nick. I don't know what's going on.
But there could be a clause in there. There could be a clause to say, if we're expecting a hard season, if you sack me at this point, blah, 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 then there could be a penalty clause in there.
I mean, there could be, and you could be conspiracy theories for days on all these different things.
Yeah.
I think it's the simplest solution or simplest explanation: pure incompetence. We've seen incompetence from David Sullivan owning football.
This is really incompetent, though, isn't it?
Is it any more incompetent than what he did when he left Birmingham? Like they could have gone bust the way he left Birmingham.
Yeah.
I don't think it's any more incompetent than that. I think
that's true.
We've seen pure incompetence from David Sullivan running football clubs, and his partners who are around and are not around. But we've seen pure incompetence for the last 20, 30 years of owning football clubs. Simplest explanation is quite often the reality.
Yeah,
Charlie,
I agree. Just very quickly, West Ham Online. He says he speaks for every fan, every West Ham fan. No, you don't, mate. You don't speak for me. You never will. I just thought I'd get that in there. Sorry, he's really annoying me.
Can I just come back on what Nick said? Very quickly. For me, Nick, I said a few weeks ago, there has got to be something going on here we don't know about, whatever that is. That was the only explanation I could come up with for David Moyes still being in the job. We don't know the whole thing. It's the only possible reason I can find for him still being in work. And if Sullivan has put that clause in, I can see why he did it, because Moyes was dragging his heels. And at the time, let's be fair, Moyes was seen as the great saviour. But now it's come back to bite him. But as Charlie says, Arkham's razor, the most simple explanation is probably the most likely one. But I'm with you, Nick. I think something we don't know about.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, look, Charlie's probably right. I just can't bring myself to understand, because you try and work it out in your head what is driving this decision. Even if you don't give a shit about football and all you care about is money, even then you'd be panicking now, right? Would you not?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't get it. Nothing about this situation comes close to making any sense.
Can I just sort of
Go on, Doug.
Go on.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me of the Leicester situation at the moment. Like you look at them, and you know they were very, very poor to begin with. Like they had like a record number of defeats. Then they had a little bit of a good run, but just ever since then, they've had another rerun that's sort of seen them plummeting down the table. I think Leicester could get rid of Rodgers if they go into the relegation zone. Do you think say if you lose to Southampton at the weekend, do you see Moyes potentially being sacked?
No chance.
Nope.
No chance. I think we're stuck with him. Mate.
I think they've rolled the dice now. I think that's what they've done, haven't they? They've rolled the dice, and I think they're going to see it through, which is mental. Because if you go back to what Nigel said earlier on in the Great Escape season, when we had Carlos Tevez, we got 21 points in the last 9 games. If those stats are right, I'm sure that's what he said.
7 wins from 9 games, wasn't it?
Yeah. So 21 points. So even if we was to lose to Southampton, there's 11 games left. It's not over till it's over. But if we lose against the bottom team, the relegation rival, that's definitive proof you're fucked, and you're at home as well. So if they stick with him beyond that, it's going to start to feel like relegation by design. You know, maybe it is going to be lucrative for them. Maybe they're looking at the parachute payments. Maybe they're looking at the fire sale, getting rid of Declan Rice for 100 million. Won't be 100 million if we're in the Championship. But all of the other players, Paqueta, Scamacca, it's endless because they'll all be gone. They will all be gone. So we'll be left with the injury-prone ones that we can't shift, like Kurt Zouma on big wages and Antonio. But apart from that, they'll all be gone. So maybe, as Charlie said earlier on, they're looking at an instant bounce back. But in the interim, they'll make a bit of money from a parachute payment. They'll make a huge sum from the player sales, and then they'll bounce back up again, and it'll all be hunky dory. Then they'll sell us. I don't know. Who knows what's going on?
If we go down,
Charlie,
our sales could total £250 million.
100%. Yeah.
You're the only one that so far hasn't answered this one from John.
We moved so off topic. What was it? Do we? Rice getting.
You've all been going off in different directions. I thought I'll let them have a little ramble. It's fine.
I think there's 101 things wrong with this season. Rice might be not Rice. The loss of Noble's probably the one of them. I think the stick Rice has been getting the last couple of days. I saw an article, or not even an article, a post on a forum today that spouted a lot of rumours with very little evidence and very little backup. which I think does no, even if it is true, does no good whatsoever right now. I don't think Deck's still been one of our best players this season. It's not saying a lot. There's probably only been Ben Rama. Gerd's played about 10 good games. I can't name many more players that have had a better season than Declan Rice. He's not been at Declan's level.
I think Deck has been our best player this season.
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue that, yeah. Has he
Him or
been as good
Benny,
as
I
last season? No. But then he's not going to be as good as last season. We're not a team that's as good as last season or the season before. The table shows that clearly. I think we was always going to see a drop off when Noble left. But yeah, I think Deck gets a lot of stick that isn't warranted. Personally, for myself, as Nick mentioned earlier, that clip, when I first saw that clip, and Steve and Gacy, you were in group chats, that I absolutely went off on when I saw the clip of him after Brighton. Then
Yeah,
seeing
so
it back,
did I, to be fair.
seeing the full interview, I thought I changed my tune a little bit, and I guess it just shows you to have a look at the full interviews before reacting. But yeah, I think he's finding it tough this season, just like we all are, and I think he does care. The last thing he wants, I think the last thing he'll want to do is be the captain that took West Ham down. Yeah, so I think he's, and they were saying about taking the captaincy off him in the chat. I think that'd be a terrible decision right now. Like, we can't do that in 12 games.
What does that achieve?
Crazy.
What does that achieve now?
No, nothing. Can I say?
That'd be the end of us. That'd send us down.
Yeah, I can say definitively, Deck loves West Ham. I used to know one of his agents. He's got an agent that does on-field things, an agent that sorts everything out off-field. And I knew the guy who did Deck's off-field stuff, and I mean, he very kindly got Deck to sign 3 shirts for me, one for my son's 18th birthday. And I got a picture of the look on my son's face. I think I forwarded it to you, Gatesy, when he's got this framed picture and he's overwhelmed. You know, Deck absolutely loves West Ham, and if we were anywhere near matching his ambition, he wouldn't consider moving. I've got to come back to one comment I saw West Ham online. Moyes, who's definitively said Moyes will keep us up and we'll win the Conference League. Yeah. Then we sack him. That's
what he's saying his ideal scenario is.
Yeah. Moyes keeps us up, which he will. There is absolutely no evidence that he will.
I think there's it's funny after I've said what I've said about he should have gone a long time ago, but I think there's a very good argument that he does keep us up and he does win the Conference League. Purely because of how many shit teams there are down there in the league, including ourselves. I think we've got a good enough squad to stay up. We're not guaranteed it. But I think there is a very high chance that he does keep us up. And looking at the teams left in the Conference League, there's a couple of big ones. Villarreal are going to be a test. There's no reason why with our squad we can't win it. I think there's a definite chance that we could do both of those things. But I would still sack him because he was just going to go around in circles.
I tell you what.
And then bring in Carrick next season.
Yeah. If you look at Everton's running is horrendous. It really is a tough final few games, and I don't care how good Sean Dyche is, they're really up against it.
Yeah. Right. Time has defeated us again, gentlemen. Time is always the enemy. I'd like to thank all of you two that have got the YouTube channels that I've pulled in. I'm just going to allow you the platform to again give your channels a little bit of a push before we say a fond farewell.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure to be on and hopefully come back on at some point. And yeah, you can find me at the Dugout Football Channel on YouTube. It is a basic football channel, but trying to grow as much as possible. And you can also, if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can also follow me on Twitter, nrod_1992. I'm also on Instagram at Douglas Horne, and I'm also on Facebook at Douglas James Horne. But Rob, thank you very much for having me. It has been a pleasure this evening. Thank you.
No problem. It's been absolutely great to have you, Doug, as always. Nick, same for you, mate.
Yeah, don't worry about me. I've shared this on Twitter and on and on the community section tonight. Anyone that has watched this,
you're a
please
gent.
subscribe. Please subscribe to Forge from Iron. I do a little bit of work with Gatesy as well. He comes on our channel. We help each other out. And also, he's going to be the proud owner of a Claret and Booze Bulldog very soon, aren't you, Gatesy?
I am, yes. I was going to talk to you a little bit off air about that, but yeah.
I've just subscribed to Claret and Booze, by the way. So
thanks, mate. Thank you. Top man. Cheers for that.
All good. All one family. Right. Okay. Yeah. We're going to knock it on the head there, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks very much for watching us. As I say, please don't forget to drop a like on the stream, subscribe to the channel. You know the drill. You've been here long enough. And if you haven't, then welcome along anyway. And don't forget this little, and it's in the pinned section of the comments. This is the gentleman that had a little bit of a mishap at the Larnaca game last week. The family are trying to raise funds for him, for his medical bills, for getting him back to the UK and all the rest of it. So if any of you guys could see your way clear to dropping a few quid in the tin, as I say, you'll find the link for this GoFundMe page in the pinned comments section on the video. Thank you very much indeed for your consideration, guys. I'll see you guys in the green room after the end of the stream. And the rest of you, come on, you Irons. And we'll see you again real soon. Forge from Iron is proud to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham United fans and friends inspired by the work of other football fan food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations from Newham Food Bank in Beckton, who supply 7 distribution centres in the borough, 7 days a week, and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. They are supported in their efforts by West Ham United Football Club, the WHU Foundation, LS185, London Legacy Development Corporation, Newham Council, the Met Police, Spire London East Hospital, Expedient Security, and a large number of West Ham and football fans. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thank you for your support. Come on, you Irons.